So today I want to take a second and talk about some of the best lessons that I've learned from three of my favorite current Black authors. It's Black History Month, but Black History Month isn't just about celebrating Black history. It's about enjoying what we have right now in the Black community and anticipating what's going to come in the future. And I think that if we were going to highlight any three Black authors, first of all, there are a phenomenal number of incredibly talented, remarkable Black authors. Fiction, nonfiction, children's, middle grade, young adult, just phenomenal authors who are changing the literary landscape with their abilities. For me, there are three authors who really impacted me and sort of transformed the literature that I started reading in a lot of ways. Now, I read everything. Aside from being an English teacher and a future school librarian, I've always loved all kinds of literature, but these three authors impacted me greatly. So let me start off with probably the one that most of you would anticipate is going to be on this list, which is Angie Thomas. So Angie Thomas, most well known for writing The Hate U Give, but has also written On the Come Up and Concrete Rose, and has even written a book about basically writing. So Angie Thomas, in interviews that I read regarding her writing her books, one of the things she talked about is her own fear about putting out the books that she put out. Because in each book, she tried to address an issue in the Black community that she knew that other people were not going to appreciate her trying to address. So obviously, The Hate U Give deals with the issue of police brutality, and that's a significant issue, and it stirred up a lot of controversy. It was a book that even years later, some teachers are questioning, is it okay for me to have this in my classroom library? Is it okay for us to have this in our school library? Because there could be community backlash. There could be administrator backlash. And that says something about how important having that book is. On the Come Up, she wanted to address the issue of how Black women are constantly told they need to be quieter, that they're too loud. And I thought that was a powerful statement, a powerful issue to address. She also deals with, again, a little bit of the sort of white supremacy and dealing with Black children and issues. And she deals with the idea of how do we express our frustration and rage? Is there an acceptable way, and why not? Why or why not? And that, to me, these things had me really contemplating how I understood the Black community, how I understood Black issues as a middle-aged white man from a suburb in North Texas. How did I understand those things? And as the adoptive father of two Black children who are not experiencing these things yet, but are likely to in the future. So Angie Thomas, I think, taught me a lot about stepping out of your fears to do a greater good. And even as I'm saying this right now, I'm still wrestling with it, because there are things that I want to stand out for in support of, that I want to lend my voice to, and I worry about what the backlash will be. I worry about what people will think of me. But we come back to that famous quote, the only thing necessary for evil to triumph is for good people to stand by and do nothing. And that's a lesson that I think Angie Thomas really drove home. The next person that I want to talk about is Nick Stone. So first of all, I've mentioned this before. I've met Nick Stone on a number of occasions at the North Texas Teen Book Festival. She is one of the absolute nicest people I've ever met in my entire life. Every time that I met her, she made me feel like I was the most important person in that room, which is a gift that not many people have, to make so many people feel so special. But another thing that I've really appreciated about Nick is that she is someone who embraces the awkward. She embraces the nerdiness. And I think everybody in the world has felt like an outsider at some point, and maybe we all grow up still feeling like an outsider. And Nick, I want to say like fearlessly, but again, she's embracing her fears. She stands up and says, I know I'm nerdy and I'm awkward, and this is even uncomfortable to post on social media, but I'm going to do it anyway because it's authentic. And first of all, that is like a symphony to my soul. Like that is what I wish the whole world were like. But secondly, kind of like with Angie, it gives me courage. It gives me courage to be more wholly myself. And if people cannot connect to who I am, then that's their loss. They're missing out. And that's not said in arrogance, like I'm some treasure, but at the same time, Nick has taught me that I'm some treasure. And Nick is a treasure as well. And I'm so thankful for the same kind of issues that she's addressed in her books. I'm so thankful that she addressed the issue of wrestling with your sexuality in Odd One Out. I'm so thankful that she also addressed police brutality in Dear Martin and Dear Justice. I'm so thankful that she's created a book that's a sports book for Black girls that's coming out soon. I'm so thankful for that. And the last person I've got to address is I've got to give some love to Jason Reynolds. Now, Jason, I don't know. I don't know if he does it on, like if it's an effort, but Jason comes across as the smoothest man, so much confidence, so much swagger. And for someone like me, in a way, that can be a little bit like, dang, man, that's not, it's not as like inspiring because I can't relate. But I do look at him and just think, man, that dude is cool. He is a cool man. But here's what I have absolutely loved about Jason Reynolds and what I have treasured from him and learned from him. Jason has talked about a number of times how he did not read a book from beginning to end until after he graduated. And a lot of that was that he didn't see himself in the books that he read. And I've heard that from a lot of people. So number one, hearing that from Jason, and as the father of 2 young Black children, I have really tried to think about as a teacher what books I assign my children, my students, because I want every student to connect and resonate with somebody. Now, we need to learn to understand other people. We need to read stories about characters that are not like us. But if that's all you ever read, then you find yourself questioning, am I okay? Because nobody's like me. And when you read a book where somebody is like you, you can say, I'm good. I'm okay. But the other thing that Jason has really restored to me is the value of poetry. Now, here's the deal. Jason is by far most well known for his prose, with the exception of Long Way Down, which is a novel in verse. But Jason's talked about how prior to writing prose, he wrote a lot of poetry. And I've read some of his poetry, more recent poetry than the poetry before his prose. But hearing him talk about poetry reminded me, poetry in English class is often off-putting because most of the poetry we expose our children to is like all other literature. It's a lot of dead white guys. You know, let's with the exception of maybe like Emily Dickinson. But he's reminded me that there is so much good modern poetry and so many different kinds, right? Like I can teach Shakespeare. I heard him say on Trevor Noah, let's teach Shakespeare right next to the words of Queen Latifah, and I am here for it. I'm here for that because it makes it so much more powerful when we can connect things. This year, I'm teaching Long Way Down for the first time, and we're also teaching Dawn by Elie Wiesel. And I look at those, and they are so similar thematically. Why would I not want to teach both of those at the same time and help these kids to see that this thing that a Jewish man is wrestling with, his desire for revenge after the Holocaust, and also that feeling of what happens if I kill someone, and that we still have people today wrestling with those same feelings, illustrated and written so eloquently by Jason Reynolds. So he's restored my love of poetry, and he's helped me to see how powerfully we can pair passages. And he's taught me what it means to be a champion for literacy. So, we're coming to the end of February here pretty quick, and I would be very remiss if I didn't take a minute and say thank you so much to all the amazing Black authors, to all the great Black poets and painters and musicians. Thank you so much for making our world more beautiful and more interesting. And specifically, thank you to Angie, to Nick, and to Jason. You guys have changed my world. You've created a better world for my kids. You've created a better world for everyone. So thank you so much. And if you've never read any of their books, you got to go and pick it up.